Hi, I'm Saida Garrett, co-writer of Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mr. Mark Tara.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the persons appearing on the program.
Today on Rainbow Country, a spotlight on the new gay dramedy, the Mattachine family. That and more on episode 413, so stay tuned for Gay Talk Radio right here on the award-winning Rainbow Country.
Hi, this is Carol Pope.
Hi, I'm Garrett Conley, author of Boy Erased, a memoir.
Hi, I'm Lorraine Segato.
Hi, I'm Gord Depp with the Spoons. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Well, hello and welcome to a brand new journey through Rainbow Country. As I like to call it, a little gay radio show working to give voice to the LGBT community and beyond. And as always, I am your tour guide through Rainbow Country and producer and host, Mark Tara. By the way, Rainbow Country originates from CIUT FM in Toronto and now proudly in syndication across Canada from coast to coast to coast. Well, thanks to you tuning in, streaming, downloading, but ultimately listening. Together we continue to build Rainbow Country into a nationally syndicated gay radio show, as well as being recognized as a #1 Canadian LGBT podcast. So today, Thomas and Oscar are a couple very much in love, but after their first foster child returns to his birth mother, Thomas and Oscar find that they have different ideas on what it means to make a family. That is the premise of the new gay dramedy that's out now on streaming, The Mattachine Family. Joining me to talk about this new film is the director, Andy Valentine, and co-star, Juan Pablo de Paz. Plus in hour 2, music from LGBT artists, independent artists, voices that we've come to know and love in classic disco, classic 80s, classic house. And on this episode, I'm featuring some classic house, some queer pop, and more. All that lies ahead as we start Journey 413 through Rainbow Country. Our first stop, the Rainbow Country Bookstore. Today, award-winning trans writer Paige Maylott reads from her memoir, My Body is Distant, a book that tells the author's transgender journey to self-realization. By the way, on Amazon.ca, My Body is Distant has a rating of 5 out of 5 stars.
Memory is a slippery and selective thing. To provide an example, think back to your earliest memory. One of mine was a hot summer day in 1979. I would have been 4 years old and my sister Lana only 2. The memory begins with us running barefoot across cool, shaded grass behind the turn-of-the-century schoolhouse our father skillfully converted into our childhood home. As I ran and Lana chased after me, grasshoppers sprang from the grass, cicadas screeched in the trees, and the neighbors' cows grazed in fields on the other side of the electrified fences which surrounded our property. Already, I have fabricated details to draw you into my story. While I know there were often cows in the fields which surrounded our house, and that cicadas often screeched in the trees, I don't remember how warm it really was. And I can't recall whether cicadas were out or if there were cows nearby that day. I have only included these pseudo-facts to pave the way to a moment that stuck with and still shapes who I am some 40-something years later. I remember we found ourselves in the sun-warmed, wood-scented back shed where we discovered my father's tackle box. We pried open squeaky metal clasps, and inside we found the most incredible fishing lures, To our inexperienced eyes, they looked uncannily like actual fish, with shining scales drawn with metallic paints and gleaming bright eyes. Some were hinged in the middle to mimic realistic swimming, I assume. Lana grabbed as many fish as she could, somehow avoiding hooking herself. She looked up at me, her body vibrating with excitement as she said, "Let's see them swim." I agreed and gathered the rest. We ran out of the shed and across the lawn holding handfuls of jingling fish. I followed Lana to a deep circular pond ringed with flagstones, which my father had dug in the middle of our yard. Lana wasted no time as she climbed the stones and threw her handfuls into the water. When they struck the surface, years of dust splashed away, and the lures came to life. The tiny fishes twisted and flipped just below the surface. Their chromatic scales flashed in a dizzying rainbow of colors before they sank. Each twinkled in the sunlight one last time, as if giving thanks, before they disappeared into the murky depths of the pond. "Did you see that?" Lana asked. "Throw yours." I recognized the potential consequences of tossing away my father's prized fishing lures, but I couldn't help myself. I wanted to see those colors. I needed to see if they truly could come to life again. I tossed mine, alone and in twos, at Lana's impatient urgings. We watched with amazement as they rolled and flashed in the murky water as they sank, leaving us with vivid memories and regret. For me, memory is a lot like my fish story. I only seem to remember moments which particularly delight or trouble me, and sometimes the ones that flash brightest are the ones that do both. I like to think my brightest memories are also the ones which have taught me valuable lessons, like how throwing away antique heirloom fishing lures can make your father cry. This memoir is, therefore, imperfect. It will contain details as true as I can remember them, and I'm certain some recollections will be incorrect or incomplete. All I can promise is that the memories in these pages are, to the best of my knowledge, influential moments of my life which have shaped me into the woman I am today. I hope you graciously accept that possibility as I recall these stories with you. By reading them, you can cause these memories to flash and sparkle once more. While not every recollection in this memoir shines, I believe it is important to include the difficult parts and the ones that beacon on regrettable decisions. Because if we don't record these multicolored memories as accurately as possible, they might sink into the darkness and be lost forever. 2010, another 11 years later, in an abandoned amusement park. Emerging from a cloud of rose-scented mist, Callie's face is lit electric pink as we pass a buzzing neon heart on the tunnel's rocky wall. We float together in a giant rubber duck that pulls us along a submerged track toward an expanding arch of light. As we pass through the cave's mouth, sunlight gleams off the duck's droplet-sprinkled plastic wings, and the sequined lining of my bridal gown reflects shimmering rainbows across the water's surface. Callie caresses my ears. "What did you think?" "Best honeymoon ever," I say. "We're only getting started." A sly smirk hints at the corner of Callie's mouth as he pulls me close. I rest my cheek against his suit-covered chest, allowing myself to melt into the relaxing vibration of his affectionate purring. Being here, having him holding me, sharing this moment together in an actual tunnel of love with my husband has made all the fuss of the past 2 weeks of wedding mayhem worthwhile. This does truly feel perfect, even though I know that none of this is real. Not in the way most people value realness. I know this amusement park we're in, this plastic duck boat, and even our avatars are just lines of code stored on a softly humming server somewhere. Despite that, I feel an authentic bond with Callie, which is no less valid than the intimacy and trust that accompanies sharing your bed and life with someone in the real world. In loving relationships, we seek reassurances that our partner cares for us. Grand romantic gestures may be beautiful and sweep you off your feet, but they're easily staged. We communicate true love through a multitude of selfless moments. Love appears as an unprompted cup of tea, just the way you like it on a tough day. Or when you fawn over a beautiful sweater and a week later, it appears on the dining room table, even when it's not your birthday. Genuine gestures of love can even appear in an act as simple as being cuddled as the little spoon while you drift off to sleep. Despite what you might think, these gestures can mean more online. Callie's wedding suit is an excellent example. If he and I married in real life, he might buy or rent a suit. A tailor then measures and makes alterations, but all Callie has done is point and pay and pick it up when he's ready. Here, Callie inevitably tried on multiple suits from multiple online vendors, still spent real money to buy it, but then he also sank hours in an editor, carefully tweaking the suit's proportions to accommodate his unique furry body. It took me 3 days to find and fit a bridal dress that showed my tail and then edit a veil so that it didn't cut off my ears. Callie proposed with an emerald ring. While he likely didn't spend too much to buy it, he took the time to learn I preferred emeralds to diamonds. Communication and attention to detail mattered just as much here. He also scouted this abandoned amusement park for us to be alone. Thoughtful kindnesses like these are more than I've ever experienced in a real-life relationship. In some ways, online relationships better illustrate commitment and desire. In real life, you and I might walk together. Your hand might bump mine, and we might like the feeling of accidental touch enough to hold hands. It could be sweet, but there's a casualness to this act that cannot occur online. In virtual worlds, we might similarly walk together, but you would intentionally position your character closer to mine, target me, and initiate a command like, /hold hands with Lydia. While stepping out of a romantic moment to type may sound detached, if my online partner values the time required to specifically write an affectionate gesture just because they want to build a connection, doesn't that add something? Describing a character's intention is not only precise and deliberate, but every descriptive pose my partner writes is only for me, for us, to create our memorable moment. Whether we're holding hands or fighting or fucking, we craft line after line of descriptive prose, a conscious, poetic rededication to the value of our relationship. So, yes, I know that our relationship, our marriage, and this moment are not real in the way society might define it, but for a lonely and sick trans woman, they are everything. Besides, don't scientists say reality as we understand it might be lines of code anyway?
When I return, the Mattachine family.
Hi, this is Michael Anthony Alago, music executive, photographer, author, and you are listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Hello, Thomas. Come to the party with us, won't you?
I'm not coming. Please don't have sex in front of me again.
Thomas, hi. Oh, I was hoping you'd come by. Thomas is a fabulous photographer. You're good?
I think I am. What about you? What do you do?
I'm a mommy.
We love that.
My best friend donated his sperm.
I mean, there's no real rule book for this.
I didn't even think it was an option until it happened.
Oh, you're a dad.
I was, but I was a foster dad.
My husband Oscar and I had 1 year with Arthur. 1 birthday, 1 perfect summer, 1 Christmas, and 1 goodbye.
Neither of you were his father. It was always temporary.
He's going back to his birth mom.
I don't know where to go from here. It's like all my options feel wrong.
Yeah, you're my oldest friend.
It's weird how we're going through something so similar yet so different.
Didn't even bring me miscarriage flowers.
What if I told you I brought you Italian food from that place on Hillhurst?
Go get it, I'm hungry.
Okay, come on, it feels like everyone we know is either having kids or talking about having kids.
I'm looking at options for us.
Let's find out if you're fertile.
You're not doing this for us. You're doing this for you.
You and I decided this. You were devastated.
I was devastated. What about you?
I don't want to be a father. I don't.
What does that mean for us? I feel like I already lost you.
You want to look back on your life and know that you fought when things got hard.
Would you lie with me and just forget the world?
Andy Valentine, hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you for having us, Mark.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Juan Pablo de Paz?
Di Pace. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm in Mexico, so I apologize if my connection gets a bit spotty.
You're in Mexico. I'm in Toronto. I have to say to the two of you, thank you for being here to have your voices, your story be heard by the LGBT community and beyond. So thank you for that, especially to talk about your new LGBT dramedy. The Mattachine Family comes out June 4th, I believe, on Prime Video.
Yes.
Annie Valentine, you direct this film. Talk to me essentially about the story that you're telling in this film, the Mattachine's family. Talk to me about this queer story that you're telling.
Sure. So the movie is my first. It's my first feature film. My husband wrote it. And when we were, thinking about, we've been in LA for a while, trying to get movies off the ground, and we really wanted a film that was very personal to us. And so we looked back through our relationship and what drama was in our lives, and kind of some of those moments that stuck out was our journey to become parents. And we had lots of ups and downs there where Danny, wanted to have kids, and I was more on the line where I wanted kids, but I wanted them down the road. I wanted them after I had made a film. And so the Mattachine Family, really examines a gay couple and their journey to become parents. We also kind of our secondary theme of the film is really, looking at the idea of chosen family and what that means to the LGBTQ plus community. And so you'll kind of get both of those two things wrapped up together in this beautiful dramedy.
Juan Pablo, you play Oscar. Talk to me about the character that you play, who is a child star and then is an adult actor as well. Talk to me about the character that you play, Oscar.
Yeah, so, well, first of all, it's always fun to play an actor because we don't usually get to play them. So what we do is fun because you can really draw from personal experience, right? And in this case, the personal experience was, well, on one side, I had a big laugh when Andy, told me that he was going to come from a he was going to be a child from a 90s sitcom, which I had just come, I just came out of Fuller House. So I just thought it was comical that I was literally playing basically one of my castmates from Fuller House, right? Someone who knows what it's like to be a child star. And so I had done a lot of research because I had spent 5 years with these actors who were in that boat. So to be in sort of the shoes of a character who's seen success as a child in the public eye, and then had this thing happen to him where he was outed, and I guess in the 2000s, that wasn't so cool to be outed as it is now. Well, now they don't out people anymore, but back in those days, it was a big thing, when Ellen, all of that time. So it was interesting to be that character, and go through that pain and that kind of shame in a way that wasn't really, that was imposed on him. And so just, that is very briefly explained in the movie, but just having that as your sort of base for a character, I thought was wildly interesting and rich, because that says a lot about who he is, who he wants to be, who he's been. And so then it was a great playing ground to go from there. So I don't know. I just thank Andy and Danny for creating such a rich character that I got the chance to play. And that, of course, is a character who wants to be a dad. And so that adds, that's where the real story begins.
So, Juan Pablo, what was it about either this project or the character that made you want to say, yes, I want to be part of this? What was it about this project that made you want to essentially be part of it?
Well, like I said, I felt on our first talks, I adored Andy and Danny because they come from a place of really loving what they do and the excitement of making their film and telling this story. But also, like I said, the character itself, I found it. I had never played that character, and you always want to play things that are new, because every single character teaches you something.
Did you find
new.
it a challenge playing this character?
No, I wouldn't say it was a challenge. No, it was actually quite comfy. I felt him very close to me because I didn't have that experience, but I had others. As actors, we not only have our own insecurity journey, which is a long journey, when you realize that you cannot take things personally, but you may take years, to get there. Because we're constantly faced with no, rejection. So to play a character whose life was that, I kind of wanted to, I had a lot to say about that, but also the fact that, he had that particular journey of the queer thing and coming out or being outed and whatever. I kind of wanted to experience that in a character and see how that felt. So there were a lot of attractive things. The script, of course, the story, the themes. And then when they chose Nico, it's like, oh yeah, I'm totally in, because he was a force of nature.
Andy, the opening sequence of the film, very touching, very, very moving. Was that always the plan to start the movie this way, Andy, or was this something that developed over time?
It was the plan to kind of to go into quite a bit of exposition at the beginning, but told in a way, using Thomas, played by Nico Tortorella, using his voiceover to kind of just get into the character's head within the first few minutes of the film and really set up all of these like cute little moments, the meet cute of where Thomas and Oscar met. His understanding of coming out and his experience, it really just it throws a lot at the audience in the first 5 minutes. But I thought, it was an interesting way to do it in terms of, how I wanted to set up the rest of the film with these little montage moments that happen throughout. And I thought we did it well in terms of like playing with the photograph, all the photographs that Thomas takes or has kept throughout his life, and then also pairing that with like little bitty, montage moments from the film.
So, Andy, this is your first film. You direct this film. You mentioned earlier your husband Danny wrote this film.
He did, yeah.
And you also said it's essentially based on your life.
Yeah.
In creating this film, were you apprehensive? Were you nervous about telling the story and putting it out there? And essentially, it's your personal story. And what happens if, it doesn't turn out well, like people don't like it or what have you? Were you apprehensive at all going into this?
I think I wasn't necessarily apprehensive. I'm of course, as a first-time filmmaker, I am anxious to hear what people will think. I think that, and, hopefully in turn that can, we can build on the success, right, of the first film, and we can go out there and continue telling, interesting stories. Our involvement in the film and how much it's based on our lives, it's more on the theme, I think. So it's like loosely based on our lives, right? It's on the idea of a gay couple and then their struggles and their challenges that they face, to have children. So it is very much, one person wants a kid and the other one doesn't. And so that conflict, was something that since Danny and I we were able to kind of, expand on that in a cinematic way, right? I didn't, I went out and cast, Juan Pablo, an incredibly handsome and talented actor, to play my role, which is Luge, right? So, yeah.
But look at you now.
Right. Thank you. Thanks, Juan Pablo. Thanks. I'll take the next role from you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
No.
I'm gonna have to fight you.
Yeah.
Andy, talk to me about your ode to The Shining.
Oh, that moment in there. That was more, I think, my husband who wanted that in there. Of course, love The Shining, but I think that was, there's this moment that we wanted to break up in the film where Emily and Chloe play a lesbian couple in the film, and we see them in the twins kind of outfit. And I wanted something that was, I think Danny wanted something that was like, not like a goofy kind of thing, but felt like a little serious and eerie. And then of course with Emily Hampshire, it just became this laugh out loud moment, right? So it worked out really well.
And on that note, we'll return after this Rainbow Country update.
Hi, I'm Paul Poirier, Canadian champion in ice dance and 3-time Olympian, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Terra.
Hello, Canada. I'm excited to invite Rainbow Country listeners to the Female Eye Film Festival. If you're in the Toronto area this summer, please check out the best films from female and female-identifying filmmakers this July 18th to the 21st at the world-famous TIFF Lightbox in downtown Toronto, with special opening day screenings at the historic Paradise Theatre in the heart of the city. That's July 18th to the 21st in Toronto. The Female Eye Film Festival is in its 22nd year. It's one of Movie Maker Magazine's top 50 film festivals worth the entry fee, and it has continued to receive this coveted accreditation for well over a decade. See a huge variety of genres made through the lens of award-winning female and female-identifying filmmakers. The Female Eye Film Festival is 4 days of exciting short and feature-length films from around the world, including our ever-popular late-night Thrills and Chills program, film industry events, tributes, script readings, gala parties, and more. The full 4 dates of the festival, July 18th to the 21st, are in Toronto at TIFF Lightbox, with special screenings the first day, July 18th at the Paradise Theatre. Go to thefemaleeyefilmfestival.com for tickets and a chance to win passes.
Hi, my name is Joanne Vanicola, and I'm an actor and a writer, and I was first on Rainbow Country with Mark Tara on discussing the massacre at Pulse Club in Orlando. I realized how important it was for our community to have a radio station, specifically for our issues, to talk about people in the LGBTQ community and to provide an outlet for our stories, to discuss our politics, culture, and give voice to the issues that matter to us, and of course our artists and the things that we do globally, and talk about culture. And without people like Mark Tara providing a space for this with a radio show like this, then we wouldn't have that voice. So support, tune in. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. This is Gino Vanelli. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Juan Pablo, you are an actor, you're a musician, you're a director, stage and screen, screen and stage. Where do you feel most comfortable, Juan Pablo, being on stage or, hurry up and wait for your scenes for screen? Where do you feel most comfortable? Doing what?
Well, that's the $1 million question. I don't know. I'm comfortable. Well, let me go back. I'm uncomfortable in all of them, and also comfortable in all of them. I don't know. To me, it's all the same. It's just different mediums of storytelling. I started as a dancer, so that was my first. Well, actually, I started started drawing and painting when I was a kid, and then came dance, and simultaneously came singing. And so I was a sort of triple threat kind of figure for a while in my life, musicals and all that. And I continued that. I didn't sort of bury it, because usually what happens when you go from one thing to the next, society kind of tells you, oh, you should just do the one thing because it's too much, But I didn't. I kept things alive. So once in a while I will do, a few nights at 54 Below or have a concert or tour, and then I will put that to sleep, and I will, make a movie or in this case, direct a movie also. So I don't know. I like thinking of myself kind of like how, and in no way I want to compare myself to Da Vinci, but in those times, it was actually not a strange thing to be a multifaceted person. Because really, you are looking at the same thing. You're looking at storytelling from different points of view. And I was lucky to have education in those things. It was hard work. It's not like one day I woke up and I was like, I just want to dance today. No, I did my whole dance training, and then I did my whole singing thing, and acting, I have to say, is the one thing that I didn't study because I was thrown into the deep end, and I learned on the job. I learned filming. And there's no right and wrong way, but I that's a very privileged place that I'm in, that I can actually use the different mediums for different things. Having said all this, I do believe that doing all those things did prepare me to be a filmmaker. Because as a filmmaker, you are dancing with your camera, that's choreography. You are painting, that's image and color. And you are singing, because music is everywhere. and acting goes without saying, you know. So in a way, I guess it was like I don't know, some beautiful design that now in this time, as you mentioned, I made my own debut feature. I was able to put all those things there, and it's so it's freaking amazing. It feels amazing. Andy will tell you that too. Directing feels amazing. It's hard, but it's amazing.
So this next question is for the both of you, and I'd love to get your honest opinions on it. And it's essentially who should be telling whose story. Over the past few years, you know, there's been a real push when it comes to, you know, people, like, especially when it comes to the LGBT community, like queer voices and queer talent telling queer stories. And the push has been so strong that back in 2020, Oscar winner Halle Berry faced backlash on socials when it came to light that she was looking to play a trans character. So the question is, essentially, at what point do you, and this is a general question, but at what point do you think we'll get back to, you know, actors act, whether they have the lived experience or not? But I think at the same time, too, everyone, I think, can agree with that if you're telling a queer story, that, you know, queer actors should be involved and in front of and behind the camera. But when it comes to who should be telling whose story, when do we get back to just simply actors acting? Andy, what's your take on this?
I think authenticity is key in those sorts of conversations. And so I think, you know, for me, when we start telling LGBTQ plus stories, that there should be in the conversation, whether or not it is people in front of the camera or behind the camera that are part of that community. Now, does that mean that every person on the set needs to be an LGBTQ plus person? In my opinion, no. But I do feel like there is some sort of, you get a little bit, you know, when you're part of that community, you're able to put in a little bit more, you know, than somebody who maybe isn't. And so it's worth having those voices as part of that conversation. And for any, you know, director or producer who are in that position, you know, who are creating a film like this, you know, that they should want to be able to take advantage, you know, of every bonus, of every aspect that they can to make their film, you know, as passionate as authentic as they can.
Juan Pablo, what's your take? Generally speaking.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it is definitely a delicate issue because for the longest time, LGBT people weren't given the place, you know, the space or the parts, or they were kind of waiting in a way to get a chance, right? So this is the time when actually those chances are at the forefront, I think. And so there are more people who can show their talent, and that talent has always been there. It's just that there were less parts, less opportunity, less stories. So that in itself, I think, is wonderful. It's a great, you know, we should celebrate that there is definitely more of a balance. I'm of the opinion of, you know, yes, if you're going to tell a story, do your research or be passionate about it as much as you can, study it as much as you can if you're going to tell that story. You know, authenticity, like Andy says, is hugely important. But I also believe that it is a playground. Like, we call actors players for a reason, and we call a play for a reason. It's make-believe, right? So I'm also of the opinion that I think we should have the freedom to play in someone else's world. So, you know, I don't think we should limit who should play what. Maybe right now it's a moment where, you know, we're kind of healing a lot of trauma. So it is good to give, you know, queer actors, trans actors, voices, etc., that platform so they can thrive. But once the healing comes to an end, I do think that there will come a time when all of those things, all the labels, shouldn't matter. Because I would freaking love to know how a German woman feels like. And if I have to study how she feels like and study her and to be able to do my best impression of her, why not? Like, I made a career out of playing people with different accents, and they all have an accent that I don't have. I've had to adapt to having an American accent. I have to adapt to have a Greek accent, a French accent, an Italian accent. And how to do that? You study it. And you try to embody that thing. So if everything was only, only a blue person can play a blue person, there would be no Meryl Streeps, no Al Pacinos, no Coppolas. So I don't know. It's a mix for me. I'm not going to say there's a definite answer to that.
Andy, this is your first film. Do you think that your art, what you create, especially moving forward, do you think you'll be telling more queer stories moving forward?
I think telling queer stories, will always be part, in some aspect of, any film or TV show that I'm a part of. That is my lived experience and my life. And I am very much part of that community and usually find that community pretty entertaining. And so, and so that entertainment is always, it is never lost on me that, like, while, creating film and TV, we're interested in telling new stories that say something and that can help people grow as an audience. It is not lost on me that we work in entertainment and that our goal is to entertain people. And so I don't think that every story that I will tell will necessarily be, have a queer person as the lead role, but they'll be in there no matter what. And whether or not they're on front, in front of the camera, there will always be some sort of LGBTQ spin to any project I do, just because that's who I am.
Andy, for yourself, this being your first film, what's been the most challenging part about getting this from script to screen?
Ooh, that is a long answer, Mark. It is, it's an indie, so it was independently financed. And so you are constantly jumping through hoops in any aspect of the film, from, securing the funds to, getting the talent, to shooting aspects, to editing, to music licensing, to film festivals, to marketing, to any, to talking to you right now. It is not necessarily, that process is not necessarily something that you learn in film school. Film school teaches you to kind of walk on a set and tell you what kind of lens to use, and then to analyze other movies to see what works and what doesn't work. Being a film director and producer on an independent film, you really are the CEO of a company, and you are selling the product of your film. And so that's not necessarily for everybody. And there has definitely been times, that it felt like it wasn't for me. But then I remember, all of those times sitting in the theater, this past year, Mattachine, has played over 50 LGBTQ plus film festivals around the world, and sitting in the back, listening to audiences respond to your film, that's what brings me the joy and the happiness. And, it makes me so happy that, everybody's going to be able to see it, shortly.
In the process of making the film, did you ever face any pushback when it comes to, don't make it so gay?
Yeah, no, I never really. I think that like it was very, it's very gay. It's about two men and their journey to become parents. So there is kind of, you can't hide behind too much of it. I did have somebody who like I think it was at a screening and somebody, there's not explicit sex scenes in our film. But there are like sexual moments, right? As that is a part of being, a human being. And I remember someone being like, "You should just take those out, those sex scenes."
Really?
And then this could be, it would open up more of a family type audience or something like that was what his question was. And I was like, well, that's like missing a little bit of like who we are as a community. So I guess that was my only pushback was that random person in a movie theater one time at the end. But yeah, good question.
I'm surprised you didn't have any poppers in there.
Yes, good. Next on the next one for sure, or maybe they were on the dresser next to you. They got framed out in the wide.
So here's my last question, and again, it's for the two of you, and it's simply this: what do you hope audiences come away with after they've seen the Mattachine family? Juan, Pablo, what do you hope audiences take away from this film?
Well, I think they will take away, I hope they would take away the love between these two men and their quest to sort of find their own version of happiness. Not a standardized version, which I think in the queer community sometimes can happen, where there's like a template. And I think it's why it's so beautiful to be part of the community is because we're not templates. We're all very different, so for them to find their own version, for an audience to see that, and also to see how as well the sense of community and the sense of the chosen family is so well portrayed and so beautiful. I hope they take away, those really important elements.
Andy, before I get your take on this, I'm going to throw in an extra question here for you. The title, The Mattachine Family, where does the title come from?
Sure. So the Mattachine Society was kind of one of the first gay rights organizations in the 50s. It was, a collection of gay men who were in Silver Lake, probably just less than a mile away from where I am right now. They would get together and talk about how to promote gay rights. And there is a staircase. Silver Lake is kind of made up of a bunch of these hills. They're kind of like an offshoot of the Hollywood Hills, where all these beautiful houses are. And there's all these like long staircases that will take you up. And so the Mattachine steps, it was a set of staircase that were dedicated to that society. At the time, my husband and I lived, at the bottom of near those steps. And we thought it was a nice tie with this story to kind of, throw a little something to, that gay rights organization. There's a photo in the film of them, all sitting around a Christmas tree in the 50s. And we looked at that and we took it and how, that was their chosen family, at that time. And how the idea of chosen family has continued for, the LGBTQ plus community to this day, and how we have a very similar photo, of our friends all gathered around the Christmas tree. And I'm sure a lot of people out there, whether it be a Christmas tree or whether it be just doing whatever with their chosen family, how important that theme is, to our community.
And Andy, what do you want audiences to come away with after they've seen the Mattachine family?
I hope that they have a nice refreshed palette. I think that a lot of queer films, are really, are about the coming out process or accepting identity, which are which are still very important to be told. But this is a different type of story. This is something else that's in the community, that is a theme that, is less talked about. And so the idea of, now that we can, in the US, now that gay people can get married, is the next step children? Are we losing part of our queer identity because now that we are assimilating into, straight culture by getting married and having children? I don't know. These are all themes and big questions that the Mattachine family propose. And so always want people, to be entertained in the film and to have a good laugh, to have a good cry, to go on this emotional journey with our characters, but then also to leave, with a question and to talk about what they liked, what they didn't like with the movie. How does it apply to their life? Hopefully I can be the start. Hopefully my film, our film can be the start of, a wonderful conversation that you have with your own chosen family.
Well said. Well said. Andy Valentine, Juan Pablo de Paz, thank you both for your time. Well said, well done, well made, well filmed.
Thank you.
Very entertaining. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for chatting.
Hello, Thomas. Come to the party with us, won't you?
I'm not going. Please don't have sex in front of me again.
Thomas, hi. Oh, I was hoping you'd come by. Thomas is a fabulous photographer. You're good?
I think I am. What about you? What do you do?
I'm a mommy.
We love that.
My best friend donated his sperm.
There's no real rule book for this. I didn't even think it was an option until it happened. Oh, you're a dad. I was, but I was a foster dad.
My husband Oscar and I had 1 year with Arthur. One birthday, one perfect summer, one Christmas, and one goodbye.
Neither of you were his father. It was always temporary.
He's going back to his birth mom.
I don't know where to go from here. It's like all my options feel wrong.
Yeah, you're my oldest friend. It's weird how we're going through something so similar yet so different.
Didn't even bring me miscarriage flowers.
What if I told you I brought you Italian food from that place on Hillhurst?
Go get it, I'm hungry.
Come on, it feels like everyone we know is either having kids or talking about having kids.
I'm looking at options for us.
Let's find out if you're fertile.
You're not doing this for us. You're doing this for you.
You and I decided this. You were devastated.
I was devastated. What about you?
I don't want to be a father. I don't.
What does that mean for us? I feel like I already lost you.
You want to look back on your life and know that you fought when things got hard.
Would you lie with me and just forget the world?
The Mattachine family is out now on various streaming platforms. You can find director Andy Valentine at andyvalentine.com. And you can find actor Juan Pablo de Paz at juanpablodepaz.com.
Magnus Hirschfeld made the modern homosexual. He co-founded the world's first gay rights group, the Scientific Humanitarian Committee, in Berlin in 1897. But what is far more important is that he and his colleagues came up with an enormously influential concept of what same-sex desire was, what it meant, and how it fit into the wider world. If you think homosexuality is an inborn quality that cannot be changed and has a biological root, but is not an illness, and if you think gay people are a sexual minority who are born that way and who deserve legal protections just as racial minorities do, you owe those ideas to Hirschfeld and a handful of others. He was among the first to articulate that conceptual model of what it means to be gay in print in 1896.
We just heard professor, author, and historian of queer and trans politics, Lori Marhofer, reading from Racism and the Making of Gay Rights, a sexologist, his student, and the Empire of Queer Love, their powerful new gay history book, about the man who made the modern homosexual, a German physician and sexologist who died at the age of 67 in 1935. Magnus Hirschfeld.
Bill 7, to ban discrimination in employment, government services, and housing, based on a person's sexual orientation, was up for a vote at Queen's Park. Most NDP and Liberal MPPs supported the bill, but without some progressive Conservative legislators' backing, a divisive split could rack the province. 4 PCs decided to break party ranks to vote with their conscience and support Bill 7. Cabinet Minister and MPP Dennis Timbrell did it to show solidarity for his beloved brother, the well-known drag queen Rusty Ryan. And for me, a gay politician who was not yet out, I had to take a stand. We were known as the Gang of Four. I'm former Cabinet Minister and MPP Phil Gillies. The date, December 2nd, 1986, when LGBT rights came to Ontario.
And just like that, this little gay journey through Rainbow Country has come to an end. For the full 2-hour episode, simply head over to marktara.com where everything is connected and hit the archives banner. To keep up to date with the show, check out my socials at Mark Tara. The podcast is available on all major platforms. And finally, I want to take this time to thank you for taking your time to be with me. Remember, we are living in days of making dreams come true, so believe in yourself, and the world will believe in you.
Hi, I'm Eric Radford, Olympic and world champion figure skater, pianist, and composer, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.